Hello YouTube, this is Christian coming to you with another YouTube video. Today I'm here to talk about EDC backpacks or tactical backpacks, as they usually are equipped with a Molle system. Molle stands for modular lightweight load carrying equipment, and it is a great little feature that comes out of the military, where especially the modular part of it is of special significance. But it has a lot of value for everyday carry and your general hiking and backpacking needs. And I'm planning to do a little series and reviews on some of the backpacks and Molle accessories, pouches and phone holders, bottle pouches and such, and in order to kind of understand it completely for somebody who has not been exposed to Molle webbing, or perhaps hasn't considered using a military bag for day-to-day everyday carry, I just wanted to bring up a little explanation of what Molle is all about and how it works and where the advantages are. So in order to understand what it actually is, I've got a little bag here, a little pouch from Maxpedition, which is kind of a little first responders pouch, but you can see on the back side here it has that Pals webbing. And the Pals webbing is a ladder system, so ultimately it is just a Cordura or nylon strip that is sewed on to your pouch or to your backpack, and that gives you an interface to semi-permanently mount pouches and accessories to your backpacks. And what it is, ultimately, it is Lego for adults, for boys. You know, you have all kinds of accessories available in the market today to customize your bag to your actual needs, and that is in a lot of ways a great thing to have. Like this is one of my EDC bags, that is a Maxpedition Sitka, which is a great little sling bag that I use and enjoy a lot. It has a bit of a military look to it, but in my work environment at the moment it doesn't matter all too much, and I just enjoy the modular nature of it. Because it doubles also as a little weekend hiking bag if I go out and about with the family for little hikes, or if we're out and about at the beach, or just a short trip on the bike where I have to carry certain things for the little ones. Then it is just great that I can customize this bag to whatever is required at any given point in time. So the way it actually works is, if you look at the pack itself, this pack on the side has a line of Pals webbing strips, and in this particular case here, this pack has a bottle pouch on one side, but if I'm out and about with my little 5-year-old, then I like to have a second water bottle with me, and that allows me to just add on a second pouch that collapses into a relatively small size if I don't need it, but gives me the opportunity to have his bottle separately on the backpack. And the way it works is that you have Pals webbing on both sides. That means on the actual accessory, in this case the bottle pouch, and on the side of the backpack. And so you can see that there is a little plastic tab running all the way through, and it is interwoven with the Pals webbing. And that gives you a very rigid, it's almost as sewn on, a relatively rigid way to mount things securely on your backpack. And that just is a great feature. So you can also see that around here, this is my little pull-up pouch, also from Maxpedition, for my phone, that I like to have on the strap that goes around my chest, just for easy access to my phone and cables and a torch and a flashlight. So this also attaches by a small Pals attachment. So all of this modularity is a great thing. If I have to travel lightweight, if I want to save a little bit of weight, I can take these things off. And another great feature is that you have the possibility to expand your storage if you have to. In this particular case, I wanted to take my first aid kit with me, but the bag was already relatively stuffed. I do have bigger bags, but in this particular case that was really all that was needed, so I just decided to strap it on the outside, and it doesn't get too big, so it's still kind of not unbalanced or clumsy in any way, and so that works absolutely great. Another depending on how you actually strap things on to your backpack, there's various ways. So from some manufacturers you can get these nylon strips that actually go in here, and then the other side, that's actually one that's a little bit too small, and then the other side interweaves with the backpack. That is one way of doing it. Maxpedition has these plastic strips. They're made out of a plastic that is very flexible, so you don't have to worry too much about breaking that. And that is another great way to attach things. It's a little bit easier to thread that through the webbing, which can be a little bit of a chore, but it's a great way of fastening things. And it goes all the way down to the most simplistic. I think that one here is also from Maxpedition, a little bit lighter, and that also just interweaves with your Pals webbing of your backpack. Then there is another thing which is called a Molle stick or a Pals stick, and you can see it right here. This is great. This is from Vanquest, who also made this first responder pouch here. And the great thing about those is they are fast removable. They're quick detach. So the way they work, and they're really beautiful to get on and beautiful to get off, is they're just locked up here. You can quite easily open those up, and then they're released from the first Pals tab, and you just pull them out, and your item is quickly removed from your pack. So this is awesome if you have an item or an accessory bag attached to your backpack that you want to remove quickly, like a first responder pouch in this particular instance. But if you have to move fast, then sometimes having a bigger backpack on your back and getting where it's needed can be exhausting. And a little bit, if you think about having a backpack full of 25 kg and you need to help somebody, then you don't necessarily want to carry that entire bag with you with all the additional weight, and then it's quite easy to detach your first responder pack or other accessory, whatever you might need, and quickly just take a small bag with the most essential things. So I can highly recommend these as an attachment for Molle load-bearing equipment. So they're quite cleverly designed, and you can see that they snap. A little hook is embedding itself into the webbing, and it's locking your pouch onto your Pals webbing securely, and they just have these little pull strings that you pull on to release it, and that's a great way of doing it. I highly recommend these. They're my favorite way of attaching things. For items that are, well, going to live on my bag, and I know I'm not gonna have a need to quickly remove them, I just go with the cheaper alternatives. In a lot of cases, Maxpedition includes these plastic straps in most of their pouches to attach them to your backpacks, and they work well. They're available in various sizes and usually matching the accessory, and they secure it quite nicely to your equipment. So this is the basics of Molle and Pals. Overall, I think it's great because let me put it this way, in EDC, in my view, there's various tiers of everyday carry items. There are items that just end up in my pocket, where I really don't want to open another pouch to get access to it. For instance, my pocket knife, or my wallet, or my phone, or my keys. So all of these, and this is just my personal opinion, all of these end up in my trousers, in my pants, where I have direct access, where I don't want to pull a pouch out, open the pouch up to get to what I need. And then there's the next step. Then there's some items I like to carry that would just fall around in a pack in an unorganized fashion. And those they usually end up in an accessory pouch. So, for example, this is a mini pouch from Maxpedition, or there's a micro pouch from Maxpedition, and a good example perhaps is a mini pouch in this particular case, because that is one that I would use, for instance, for my biking accessories. So I do have various loadouts. I do have a number of these pouches. Some of them are for cable management, for all the gear I'm carrying with me. If I have a camera with me and I need the chargers, or if I have my phone and my headphones with me, they can happily live in a pouch like that, charging cables and such. And the same goes for my basic tools for biking. And then I do have a loadout for various other things, like for your get ready system. If you're thinking about natural disasters, and here in New Zealand that is not uncommon, that you have an earthquake or perhaps a flood or a forest fire, and there is a chance that you might have to evacuate, then it makes a lot of sense to have your stuff organized. The last thing you want to do in such a scenario is find all your stuff. You got to have that ready to go, right? So and in this particular case, these pouches, they are just great. Blue, in this particular case, that means water. So there's just some basic water sanitation in that one. In this case, that is a UV sanitation system. But that's a great way to organize your gear, right? And so this enables you to work with loadouts. I, for one, change my backpacks a little bit, depending on what work requires for me and in my everyday carry needs. And for that particular reason, I just have most of the stuff that is second tier, so that I don't wear on my body, I have organized in pouches. And depending on what I do, I don't have to reorganize all the pockets in my backpacks, and then it gets a little bit tedious, because these packs from Maxpedition or Vanquest or 511 or what have you, they are really pocket galore. So they're stuffed with internal pockets and places to store your items, which is great, and it is a valid option. But because I'm changing backpacks quite a lot, I'm really having trouble to remember where all my stuff is. And I'm carrying some items that I perhaps need once a month, and then I have to go through each of these pockets to actually remember and find where I actually stored it. And this is a little bit of an annoyance. Also, changing the backpack, unless you enjoy these things, reorganizing everything and finding a system where it makes good sense is a little bit time consuming, and I got a little bit tired of it. So what I'm doing instead is I'm taking these items, for the most important ones. I actually do have followed Vanquest's guide in terms of color marking them. So you have a little, they provide you with a little hook and loop tag that you can put onto your gear, and then you have color coding, and you can actually tell by the color of that particular Velcro or hook and loop band what's inside this particular pouch. And I have some rather unique pouches as well that I use for some items, where I actually know, okay, this is that pouch, and that's my charging cables, or that's my my general EDC gear, or my first aid. So and depending on which backpack I choose, it's mostly the pouches that I change from one to another. It also gives me a little bit more flexibility in terms of backpack selection, because I'm not too worried about whether a particular backpack actually features all the pockets and organizational features that I actually want. All I need really is enough space to get my pockets in, which gives me a little bit more flexibility. So that is pretty much a second tier kind of thinking, is organize it in pouches, have it sitting ready, and then go with loadouts. So you just pick individual pockets into your backpack, and you're ready to go. So I think that is where this kind of system really shines, where it's makes good sense and is a practical approach to EDC carry, because quite frankly there's a lot of stuff that you can go over the top with it, let's put it this way. So it's not exactly that my everyday carry bag requires any kind of survival gear, right? So I need my water bottle storage, and I personally like to have my first aid kit with me. I have my everyday carry items, which is a torch, a little bit of paracetamol, and a backup knife, and pretty much that's it, right? And then perhaps something for wet weather, and I need a space to put my phone if I don't want it in my pocket for whatever reason. But that is ultimately what I need on an everyday carry basis. So I don't have to go over the top with it, right? And there's also in regards to attaching things to your backpack, you've got to be a little bit mindful when you're first getting into these things. It's quite easy to look at these things and misjudge the size. It is also quite easy to actually go with something like that, which is a folding system. And personally, I don't believe it makes an awful lot of sense to have Molle, to have Pals webbing on the back of it. And that is mostly look, if you attach that to your backpack there, that's all nice, but really, do you want it there? I don't know. Personally, I don't have much use for something like that. It is just too easy for me to lose things. So I would be far better served with a pack that is more like a drop pouch. So this is another example, also from Expedition. This makes a little bit more sense, because if you open that up, it never opens up completely. You can put that on your backpack if you need additional storage, but it acts a little bit more like a drop pouch. So you kind of don't have that clamshell design, and that makes perfect sense for me in terms of putting it on an actual backpack, whereas these clamshell designs quite often, I personally wouldn't put them on anything backpack related, so I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's nice, it's there, and you could, but in terms of practical use, these are nice for inside a bag, they're nice for inside the car, or if you have to perhaps put them in the cargo pocket of your trousers. But beyond that, I don't think that needs to be an attachment to a backpack. It's a bit of a different story looking at first responder packs. Here it makes sense to have that kind of functionality, mostly because you kind of have a relatively nice enclosed design, if you like, so stuff doesn't drop out of this quite as easily, and you have nice access to the whole content. You have it laid out quite clearly in front of you, so that's great. But with the help of these Molle sticks that I showed you earlier from Vanquest, it's also quite easy to remove that quickly. So that makes sense. Another one is also this kind of pack where I'm kind of alright with it, mostly because I'm attaching a string to your actual pouch, and in this particular case that can't open too far, so even if your backpack is standing up or you have it on your back and somebody else needs to access it, this makes a lot of sense. You can open it completely, or you can open it only partly, and your little string here is making sure that nothing falls out of it. So you got to be a little bit mindful and look at the design of individual pouches to see if it makes sense for you to use it in that way. Like this is another good example for a pouch. In this case that's just a fire starting kit, but also something I wouldn't have on the back of the backpack necessarily. That's something that I would put into my backpack rather than have it on the outside. So that Pals webbing for me is a little bit out of place. I would rather go with a lighter pouch. So there's a whole bunch of things. You get little phone pouches, you get a little bit more advanced phone pouches. That is a pull-up design that actually brings your phone out a little bit to make it easier to access. So quite kind of a quick draw phone pouch. Yeah, and that is where the Molle system really shines for me. I don't mind the tactical look as much, but I greatly appreciate the fact that I can customize my bag. I greatly appreciate that I have a system that is interchangeable for a number of tasks, and have a gear that is actually built for relatively tough environments. It is a word of warning here, if you're going down the track of actually using one of those military style bags, you have relatively high abrasive resistant Cordura or nylon, which is awesome. These bags, they age well. It's rather thick and very abrasive resistant, so it will last you a long time, but you buy that with the additional weight. And for me, once again, that's not necessarily too much of an issue. If I go hiking in the high country, then I have other bags to do that. But usually these light trimmed, so really lightweight backpacks with proper load carrying systems that distribute your weight on your hips and give you adjustability around your shoulders, with sternum straps and all the bits and pieces. They're great for really longer hikes, but in most cases that kind of lightweightness that they have, you have much thinner fabrics that are not necessarily standing up to the same amount of abuse. And to be honest, I'm not going on hikes all year. I'm maybe having 2 or 3 hikes a year. So that means that backpack is perhaps used 2 or 3 times a year, and that's fine. But taking a lighter fabric backpack for day-to-day tasks, that's a different story, and the weight doesn't matter as much, but I like stuff that lasts, and I also like to see how some equipment ages and develops patina and grows in character, if you like. And for that particular purpose, these things are great. And if you have kids and you look at their school bags, that's pretty much an everyday carry item, and you look what they look like after a year's time, then you get the rough idea, the kind of abuse an everyday carry bag will see, as opposed to a hiking bag, which maybe comes out 3 or 4 times a year and then is used extensively for a week or two, but then vanishes somewhere in storage again for 3 or 4 months. It's a bit of a different story, and for that particular purpose, I have to say I really love these military style bags. Now in this case also color has an effect, so if you go with black, it's not as bad. It looks a little bit more neutral. The green or the tan, yeah, sure, I mean, this is military style. I don't mind it, but I understand that in some situations that's perhaps not a solution that that sits well with the environment you're in. But if you just look at a black appearance, I mean, you know, there's not an awful lot to it that would yell out military, right? And the Pals webbing, depending on how it's done, in this particular case, it's broken up a little bit with the zipper, so I don't find it too obvious. With other manufacturers, maybe if you look at 511 bags, it's a bit more obvious. It quite often is full of webbing everywhere, and it's a little bit more fitting into that military theme that you might want to avoid. Yeah, so this is my take on Molle and Pals webbing, and the advantages of its modularity, and I'm a great fan. And so I have a number of reviews coming up, so we'll be looking at a number of pouches in due course, and have a small collection of backpacks that I really like, that I want to go through as well. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope it has some information of value to you, and yeah, catch you next time around. Alright, see ya, bye.